Exploring pre-colonial Benin, a sophisticated society of art, politics, and spirituality.
Firearms reshaped the dynamics of warfare in West Africa. The Kingdom of Benin articulated its authority, memory, and cosmology through artistic production, most notably in bronze. These works were not merely decorative artifacts. They functioned as repositories of historical knowledge, instruments of political legitimacy, and mediators between the spiritual and temporal realms. Oral traditions within Benin suggest that the divine was not distant or abstract, but immanent, manifest within the very fabric of the kingdom. The sacred was embedded in urban space, ritual practice, and artistic expression. In this sense, Benin's material culture, particularly its bronzes, constituted a language through which history was preserved and power was expressed. By the 15th century, the Kingdom of Benin, known to its inhabitants as Edo, had emerged as one of the most organized and architecturally impressive states in West Africa. Its capital, Benin City, was characterized by remarkable urban planning, including a network of roads, courtyards, and administrative zones that reflected both political hierarchy and cosmological order. The city's defensive earthworks, often referred to as the Benin Walls, extended for thousands of kilometers and represented one of the largest man-made structures in the pre-modern world. Early European visitors, including Portuguese traders arriving in the late 15th century, expressed astonishment at the scale and sophistication of these constructions, frequently comparing them to the monumental fortifications of classical antiquity. Accounts from these visitors describe a city that was orderly, clean, and governed by clearly defined social and political systems. Such observations challenge long-standing Eurocentric assumptions about African societies, revealing instead a complex and highly developed civilization. The political structure of Benin was centered on the Oba, a ruler whose authority extended beyond the administrative into the spiritual domain. The Oba functioned as an intermediary between the human and divine realms, embodying both sacred and temporal power. Governance was not exercised through coercion alone, but through a system deeply embedded in ritual, symbolism, and collective memory. The royal court, supported by elite chiefs known as the Agaivo, operated within a framework that integrated political decision-making with spiritual consultation, including the roles of diviners and priestesses. Trade and external relations were similarly regulated through established customs and ceremonial protocols. Access to the kingdom, particularly to its capital, was strictly controlled, reinforcing both security and the sanctity of royal authority. The arrival of Portuguese traders in the late 15th century marked the beginning of sustained contact between Benin and Europe. These early encounters were characterized by mutual curiosity and, at times, admiration. European accounts frequently noted the sophistication of Benin's governance and the refinement of its urban environment. However, such admiration was accompanied by a persistent inability or unwillingness to fully recognize the kingdom as an equal sovereign entity. Over time, as European economic and political interests in West Africa intensified, perceptions shifted. Benin came to be viewed less as a partner in trade and more as an obstacle to imperial expansion. The ascension of Oba Ovan Ramwen in 1888 occurred during a period of profound geopolitical transformation. The late 19th century witnessed the rapid partitioning of Africa by European powers, a process formalized in events such as the Scramble for Africa. Within this context, Ovan Ramwen's policies can be understood as efforts to preserve the sovereignty and cultural integrity of his kingdom. He resisted unequal treaties, rejected external interference, and maintained traditional systems of trade regulation rooted in ritual authority and seasonal cycles. From the perspective of British colonial officials, these practices were interpreted as impediments to free trade and modernization. From the perspective of the Benin court, however, they represented the preservation of a sacred and time-honored order. By the late 19th century, British administrative and commercial interests in the region had intensified. Officials based in colonial centers such as Lagos began to view Benin as both a strategic obstacle and a potential source of wealth. The kingdom's control over trade routes and its restriction of foreign access were seen as unacceptable within the framework of imperial economic policy. Consequently, British authorities began to seek justification for direct intervention. Figures such as James Robert Phillips played a critical role in this process, advocating for expeditions that would ultimately lead to confrontation. The search for a pretext to justify military action reflects broader patterns of imperial expansion, in which economic motives were often cloaked in narratives of diplomacy or moral obligation. The Kingdom of Benin stands as a testament to the complexity and sophistication of pre-colonial African societies. Its artistic traditions, particularly its bronze works, continue to serve as powerful symbols of cultural identity and historical continuity. The events surrounding the late 19th century confrontation between Benin and British forces represent more than a political conflict. They signify a profound disruption of a deeply rooted civilizational system. The removal of cultural artifacts, the dismantling of political structures, and the imposition of colonial authority marked a turning point whose asar continue to resonate. Today, the study of Benin's history invites not only scholarly reflection, but also ethical consideration, particularly in relation to the restitution of cultural heritage and the recognition of African contributions to global history.